This remarkable piece of work revolves around the story of Bob, a simple and innocent-looking man. A man irritates him by interfering in his life without any reason. Eventually, Bob has to show his dark and uncovers the mysteries about his past. Who is Bob? Who is the man to interfere in his life? And what are the terrifying secrets that Bob tries to hide? Let's get into the video to find the answers to all these questions. Hello and welcome to I Am Movies. The movie opens with a man named Bob Saganowski, who works at a bar named after his cousin Marv and narrates that in his neighborhood, certain things are going around that no one knows about. He adds that in Brooklyn, the money keeps changing hands the whole night, as it is the kind that cannot be deposited in the banks, and after a certain time the bosses select a bar to hide their money. And the selected bar is called the drop bar.
They call it a drop bar.
Bob then states that he tends the bar and asks to wait. The movie begins with Bob one night when he offers free drinks to a group of friends, gathered on the anniversary of their dead friend, Richie Whalen, also known as Glory Days. Bob claims that the drinks are from Marv, and when he gets closer to him, Marv gets mad at him for giving him the free drinks. He also refrains from giving free drinks to an old lady, Millie. Bob tries to tell him that she cannot afford the drinks, but Marv leaves with a warning. Bob visits Street Dom at 8 o'clock daily and greets a man, Evander Torres, a detective, without ever having a proper introduction. One night, Bob is returning from the bar when he hears some noises from the trash can, and upon checking, he finds an injured puppy inside. Soon, the landowner, Nadia, arrives, and after looking at the dog, she asks for his license and shares Bob's picture
Let me see your license.
with a few of her friends just to be careful. She allows Bob inside and treats the dog, claiming that someone has beaten the dog badly. After dressing the puppy's wounds, Nadia requests that Bob take the dog with him, but he requests she keeps the dog for a few days so that he may think about his decision to keep a pet.
Well, I have to think about this. It's a big responsibility.
Bob was scared as it was a pit bull, considered a dangerous breed. Bob leaves when Nadia agrees to his offer, and later that night, two brothers, Fritz and Brian, plan a robbery at Marv's bar, and Brian seems scared. Fritz encourages his brother, claiming that the man they will work with needs them to prove themselves. After a while, the duo robs the bar, and Bob spots the watch in one of the robbers' hands and remembers it. After the thieves leave the bar, Marv and Bob rush to their friend, Rarty, who was badly hit, and call an ambulance. Soon, the police also arrive at the crime scene, and Detective Torres recognizes Bob as the guy at the church and questions him about what happened. Bob tells him everything and reveals the watch he saw in the robber's hand.
I can see that his watch is stopped.
Torres is somewhat suspicious of Bob and leaves, talking about the church. The next day, Bob meets Nadia and gets the dog while a man watches them. Bob returns and asks her to help him buy things for the dog. Nadia joins him, and the duo buys everything needed for the dog, while Nadia also suggests a book for training it. After that, Nadia leads Bob to get a name tag for the dog, and when asked, Bob reveals that he has two names, Mike and Rocco, in his mind. Nadia likes Rocco and gets a tag. Following that, Bob is shoveling ice when the Chechen mob and the son of their bar's owner, Chekhov, arrive. He shows them a man in his van who is being tortured for double-crossing him, and he questions them about the robbery and what they have done to find his money. Bob and Marv assure him they are working on it, and Chekhov leaves, asking them to get it soon. Marv is at home with his sister, Dottie, and leaves the house to see someone. Marv approaches Fritz, revealing that he plans to rob his bar when it's their turn to hold the drop. When asked, Fritz reveals that Brian has their money, while Marv orders him to be careful and to ask Brian to change his watch.
Just tell him to get a new one and get rid of that one.
The next morning, Bob is at a park with Rocco when Nadia meets him and reveals that she has lost her job at the hotel and suggests babysitting Rocco for him in return for some money. Bob seems to like her, so he takes her number. After that, Marv is at home when Dottie questions whether he has seen their father and tells him that soon she will retire and they will run short on funds for their father, and he will be moved out of the shelter to a lesser place. She also suggests ending the miseries of their father, but Marv tells her that he is still alive and feels his heart beating. Marv allows her to do it, but she changes her mind. After that, Marv is on the road when a suspicious man approaches him and asks for an address, and Marv does not feel good right. After that, Bob is in the park with Rocco when the same mysterious man, following him and Nadia, approaches him and leaves, appreciating the dog.
That's a nice dog.
Bob is leaving for the bar when the same mysterious man reaches his door and insists on getting inside. When asked why, The man reveals that the dog belongs to him and shows him proof of his ownership. Bob claims he owns the dog now that he has beaten him, but the man plans to trap him by blaming him for hitting the dog. Bob gets scared and questions him about his demands, but the man walks away after taking his umbrella. Bob then meets Nadia in a restaurant, where he gets distracted by the scar on her neck, but then she tells him that he is the only man who has not yet asked about the scars and reveals that she did it by herself one day when she was drunk.
I did it to myself.
She admits to being different back then, but the waitress soon asks the duo to leave with the dog. Bob meets Marv and discusses the strange people they encounter, thinking Chekhov may be behind them. Bob tells Marv to stop overthinking, and as they come out, Bob suggests Marv get a dumpster when he has to fix the trash cans. On his way inside, Bob finds a plastic bag, and upon checking, he is thrilled to see a hand with the same watch he saw on the robber's hand and the same amount of money that was robbed. Bob brings everything inside and starts packing the hand to hide it, while Marv tells him he does not need to mention the watch. As they start arguing, the mysterious man following Bob arrives at the bar, but Marv tells him they are closed. The man is leaving when Bob shows up, and the man leaves, asking Bob to be careful about Nadia as she has a habit of hurting herself. After the man leaves, Marv questions whether he is the man Bob mentioned earlier. After Bob confirms, Marv tells him that the man is named Eric and is the killer of Richie Whelan, the boy who went missing.
He's the guy who says he killed Richie Whelan.
Bob gets scared but leaves, telling Marv he is going for a walk. Marv cleans the blood from the money while Bob is at the docks with Rocco, and after finding the opportunity, he throws the arm into the ocean. Suddenly, Torres arrives and questions whether he knows anything about Eric Weeds, as he has something to do with Richie's disappearance. Despite looking at the picture, Bob lies and shows complete unawareness of Eric, which makes Torres suspicious. Bob returns home and finds Nadia waiting for him with Rocco, and Bob questions her about Eric, stating that the way he said to say hi to her, he felt that he meant something. Nadia listens to him and leaves, getting mad at him for insinuating with her. Bob discusses with Marv what Nadia said to him, and he starts teasing him with his friends. Subsequently, Chekhov and his assistant Ander arrive at the bar, and as Chekhov takes a seat, Marv and Bob return the money. Bob tells him that the money is wet and will be fine till tomorrow.
Well, it was a little wet.
And he makes a special drink for Chekhov. Chekhov likes the drink and leaves, informing them they will handle the drop on Super Bowl night. In the evening, Bob finds Nadia at her doorstep and apologizes for making her feel bad. Nadia is also sorry about her behavior and leads Bob inside her house, where she reveals that Eric was her boyfriend. Bob understands and tells her she does not need to apologize if Eric put the dog in her trash can. After that, the duo shares a few drinks when Nadia warns Bob that Eric is not a good man and that he killed Richie Whelan.
He killed a kid named irritates.
Bob tells her that he has heard about him, and when asked, Bob tells Nadia that Marv is his real cousin, and they used to have a crew that helped them make some money, but then they flinched, and the crew fell apart. Nadia tells him he is still in the game, but Bob claims he is just a bartender. On the other hand, Marv beats Fritz, and he hardly gets inside his car. Fritz reveals that he is scared, as the last time his brother went missing, he was also seen inside the car. Marv tells him about the drop, and motivates him to avenge his brother, but Fritz denies helping him. Marv does not like this and tells him that he needs two things. First, he does not want Fritz to share the information, and second, he needs a place to stay at night.
I need a place to hold up for a couple days.
Fritz agrees, but still, Marv kills him brutally using his car. Marv then switches cards and escapes. The next day, Marv beats Eric while sitting at a restaurant and tells him that he does not see it often when someone walks into his bar and scares his cousin. Marv tells him to use this for their betterment and convinces him to help him rob the drop. At the same time, Detective Ramsey gives Eric's psych file to Torres, from which he finds an important clue and is stunned. After that, Eric returns home and finds Bob waiting for him. Bob talks to him about breaking into his house and disturbing him and his dog. Eric tells him to pay 10 grand, after which he will not interfere in his life, and he can keep the dog. Otherwise, he will do what he has done with Richie and warn him of the consequences, mentioning his fellow who helped him kill Richie. Bob seems afraid and reaches for Marv's house to see him. Marv is busy watching television when Bob wonders if he misses the biggest tip of the year. Marv tells him he does not need tips and recalls when he owned the bar, and people used to fear and respect him.
I was respected. I was feared.
He taunts Bob for having nothing like that in his life. Bob realizes that Marv's intentions are not good, so he leaves, warning him not to do anything that they won't be able to handle this time. Bob then returns home, and after taking out his savings he waits for Eric. But he does not show up, and Eric leaves for the bar with Rocco. He hides the gun under his table with his money for Eric. In the meantime, Eric breaks into Nadia's house, and when she returns, she is thrilled to see him at her place. She requests Eric to leave, but instead, he threatens her and orders her to be ready at night, as he wants her to accompany him somewhere.
We're going somewhere tonight, all right?
Later that evening, when the football match starts, many people gather at the bar, and the gang members secretly keep delivering the money to Bob while he stores it inside a safe. Soon, Bob is frozen after seeing Eric there with Nadia. Eric teases Nadia a lot, which concerns Bob, and then Eric comes to Bob for a drink. Bob tells him that he has money and demands Rocco's tracker information in return. But Eric does not take him seriously and returns to Nadia while talking to Marv on the phone. When asked, Eric informs him that he is at his bar, and Marv warns him to be careful about Bob, as he is not what he seems. As the crowd lessens, Eric leaves Nadia alone with Bob to have a cigarette, and she tells him that Eric has brought her forcibly by breaking into her house. Eric returns and Nadia leaves for the washroom. Here is the scene that completely changes the movie. Bob tells Eric that he is willing to pay 10 grand for the dog.
I'm happy to pay you 10 grand.
But Eric insists that he will break the safe containing the money at 2 o'clock in return for Nadia. Bob starts telling him that Marv used to be a loan shark before he had a bar, and once a boy went to AC and stole 22 grand, which is a large amount of money compared to what he had to pay Marv. Marv saw the guy as a big business opportunity, so they killed him. Bob admits killing the guy, while Eric worries about the safe and the money. Eventually, Bob reveals that the guy's name is Richie, and he puts him in an oil tanker after shooting him twice in the face. Eric gets scared, and Bob shoots him before he can do anything, which leaves Nadia in complete shock. Bob gets mad at him for disrespecting Nadia and hurting his dog. Nadia starts crying, and Bob allows her to leave, ensuring no one will hurt her now. Nadia is very scared, so she claims she won't open her mouth to anyone about what happened here.
I won't talk about.
And Bob tells her he believes her. After that, Bob contacts Eric while waiting for him outside, but Bob takes the call and says nothing in reply. After that, Chekhov comes to see Bob and reveals that they have killed Marv because he tried to steal their money every time, and he orders him to rename the bar after his name.
Take down his name, put up yours.
After a few days, Tori sees Bob and tells him about Eric's disappearance, adding that he is aware of his psychiatric trial when Richie was killed. Torres then leaves, appreciating Bob for playing so cleanly. After that, Bob meets Nadia and states that she did not ask him to stay away from her, despite everything that happened. He asks her to say this or otherwise accompany him to his place, and Nadia agrees to walk with him and returns home. And that's the end of this recap. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more. Thanks for watching, and see you at the next one.